Hi, I'm Michelle Lee. I'm a makeup artist, and welcome to our virtual classroom series. Today we're going to be demonstrating and talking about airbrushing 101. So when I say airbrushing 101, I'm just talking about the basics of airbrushing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about equipment, then I'm going to talk a little bit about the product, and then we're going to do a demonstration. So let's start out by talking about compressor and the equipment. There's several different types that you can choose. This is one of the smaller ones that's available. This one's really good for beauty. This is called an Iwata Silver Jet. This is great because it's really super simple. It's not really heavy. Of course, they come in a little bit lighter, or I should say extremely lighter, more compact versions. They can get as small as just a teeny tiny little box. But this one I like because you can adjust the pressure on it. It's got a little holder for you to put your airbrush gun into, and a little flip switch to turn it on. But my favorite part is it's really simple to adjust the pressure. And the more air that you push out, so it's got a little plus on here and a little minus, so the more air that you push out, then it's going to give you, more product that it's going to push out onto the face. If you want to get less detail and less product, then you would just have to adjust the pressure on there. So especially if you're getting around to the nose area, or if you're trying to get a little lighter or more fine-tuned detail, then you're going to have to pay attention to adjusting the amount of air that's going around. Especially if you're getting around the nose, you don't want to have a whole lot of product or a lot of air that's blowing up the nose. It's not very pleasant for them. There's other compressors that are a little bit more heavy duty. You might change your compressor depending if you're going to be working with the body or if you're working with special effects. There are really large compressors and larger guns that will allow you to push more product out over a larger surface. And it's something, if you were doing airbrush, say spray tanning or heavy duty body makeup, you would want to consider a larger, more heavy-duty compressor. Okay, so this is an airbrush gun. It's a dual-action airbrush gun, and it's got a cup on the top. So what you do is you would open up the top of it, and then you would put your product on the inside. The reason that they call it dual-action is because you are able not only just to pull back on it, but you will also push down and pull back, and it gives you control over how much product is being sprayed out. So you push down, it's going to push out the air, and then you're going to pull the trigger back. The farther that you pull the trigger back is going to allow you to have control also on how much air is being pushed out and how much product is being distributed onto the face. Another thing to know is the further away that you hold your gun, the more of a wide range spray is what you are going to get. However, if you want to get more detail into it, you want to turn down the volume a little bit, especially if you're working around the eye area, and you want to just lightly get real close in, fine tune, and you can work real close this way. Be careful when you're working around the eye area especially, or if you wanted just to cover like one little spot. That's another reason that you would use why having an Iwata Eclipse, the dual action, is really super nice and handy. So I'm going to take the cup off the top, and this is where you're going to put the product in. But before we start doing the demonstration, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the product. Okay. There's generally about 3 different types of base airbrush foundations that you can choose from. 1 would be water-based, 2 would be alcohol-based, and 3 would be silicone-based. Why you would choose one over another really depends upon 1, what your actor or model is going to be doing, and 2, it has to do with skin type, and 3, what kind of coverage that you're looking for. So to take into consideration, if somebody needs a lot more coverage, and maybe you might have to go over it over their skin a few more times, you might want to possibly work with a water base. You could use the silicone bases. They're great. They do give good coverage, but Because it's an airbrush makeup and it goes straight onto the top of the skin and it just sits there, it has a tendency to require you to need more layering to go over top of it. And when you're working with a silicone-based makeup, it can go on heavy very, very quickly. So it can go from looking light to very heavy if you're not careful. And one of the things to note about working with a silicone base is, particularly this brand, which I love, but working with the silicone base, a lot of times once they dry, I mean, they're on, and it's a little bit harder to blend it afterwards. So you really have to know what you're doing when you're working with a silicone base airbrush makeup. So, because if you make a mistake, then it's going to make it hard to blend it down. So there's just something to think about when you're first starting out. I would try to start playing with the water bases first until you get more comfortable, and possibly move into working with more of the silicone bases.